Yay! We're live. And today in our 23rd cafe, everyone can contribute cafe with, again, Kubernetes and automating things, and also trying out the Hetzner Firewall feature, which was announced this week, I think. And I'm happy that Max prepared something for today, or we are like taking over from Niklas last week to Max this week and continuing to learn something new. And I would say with that, I would just hand over to Max and say, wrap it up, let's go. Yep.
I think you wanted to do a short round of introduction and recap what we did over the last few weeks before we start, right? What you wrote earlier in the chat.
Yeah, but I didn't think that I would be doing it.
You were hoping other people would talk about it. All right.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, got me on the wrong foot. Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I can just start if you want.
Yeah, please start. Go ahead, and we will wrap it up later.
All right. Yeah, we do this. Okay. So yeah, it's have been a few weeks since my last session. In between, Niklas did a few talks, and I think Philip as well, about security of Kubernetes and authentication and everything. Now we go a little bit back to the basics when we set up our initial cluster. And back then in February, I think, we left a few things open, or by now we realized that there are a few things missing or not perfect yet, and we want to improve this a little bit. One of the things we noticed is that if I go back here in my Terraform code, I will make my terminal a little bit bigger, and I run Terraform apply. Then it will create a bunch of resources. The screen sharing is a little bit odd today because in my normal browser, the sound doesn't work with Zoom today, so it's only one window and you can't see any browser. So if I need to switch to the browser later on, then it will be a little bit, it will take me a second to switch. All right, then let's see. I will make this a little bit bigger. You can see we have now those three servers at the bottom, server, agent, and agent. Those are our K3s nodes. And now if we run Terraform destroy to delete everything again, then again it wants to destroy 8 resources. And one thing we notice here is that it gets kind of stuck. In a few seconds, there will be a message that it's still trying to delete the subnet of our cluster. And then it will just continue with this error message until it's running in some timeout. And that's a bit sad because it feels like managing infrastructure in 2005 and not 2021. We want to have this reproducible in a better way. We want to apply and destroy as often as you want to without any stuff not working because it will not recover from this. This will just stay this way. And I'm not 100% sure why. Well, I have some kind of idea why, but now if we run it again, it will work. Oh, sorry, I had to type yes. So we have this network and the subnet still left over. And now they are gone. And yeah, that's just not nice. So let's go back into our Terraform code to get back to it a little bit from last time. Not the last time, but the last time we looked at Terraform. We have some basic stuff like our SSH keys at the top. And then we have a definition of our server and our agents. And one thing we can notice here is that we define the network of our servers right here inside of the server resource. And then we tell Terraform that this resource depends on the subnet resource. So when we do Terraform plan or Terraform apply, it will use this dependency to know that the subnet needs to exist before it attempts to create the server. And then here at the bottom, we have the subnet itself. And for some reason, this works during the creation because we have this dependency here. But then when we try to delete it, I think in some way Terraform or the Hetzner Terraform provider does not take care of this dependency. It's just tries to delete everything, and I think it tries it in the wrong order. And then the API denies to delete the subnet and the network because there are still servers attached or something. And then when we run it a second time, those servers are not attached anymore, and that's why we can delete the network then. So that's a bit sad. And back in February when we did this, there was it was a new feature that we could even define the network right here in the cluster. So what we can try now is to upgrade the Terraform provider. Maybe it got fixed in the meantime. And if it isn't fixed, then we can use another way to assign a network to a server, where I know that it works because I used it in another project in another way. So at first, let's try to update our Terraform provider. So the latest release is not 1.24, but 1.26 with a bunch of nice new features. And maybe there's a bug fix in there. I don't know. I didn't read the changelog. And then I think we need to run Terraform init with some parameter to upgrade. Yeah, Terraform init -upgrade. And then Terraform will download the latest release from the Terraform registry. So maybe let's try Terraform apply again and see what's going on. 8 resources looks good. Should be done in a few seconds. All right, so you can see those servers are created again. And now let's try Terraform destroy again. And I did not test this beforehand, so maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, we will see. Each time I do Terraform apply or Terraform destroy, I'm so glad we did this in Terraform, that we did this in code, because it's so much easier than clicking everything in the web interface. Okay, interesting. So it's a different error now. It's not just trying again and again without success. It straight away tells us that it can't remove the subnet because servers are still attached. This should be solved now. So we still need a second attempt. All right, I don't really know if there's a way to define some additional dependency between the resources. It's possible, but if that's necessary, then it's a bit annoying. Maybe it's even a bug in the Terraform provider from Hetzner, I don't know. So maybe it would be worth to look into it a bit deeper and open a bug report, maybe, or maybe there is an open bug report, I don't know. I haven't checked. For now,
tomorrow you can fix it.
Yeah, tomorrow I can fix it. Yeah, I was wondering if starting next week I need to add a disclaimer each time I present something on Hetzner in this call. But
I mean, you can open the bug report today and then start to fix it tomorrow, because I just checked and there is none so far.
Okay. Yeah, but
I think Max and me, we checked it. There was a bug which we subscribed, or wasn't it something like?
Did we? I'm not sure. Not sure if it was about this, but it's possible. Yeah, I think I sent you
will check
something
it,
on
wait.
Discord a while back. Yeah, but luckily I can just open the bug report and then I will say it's not my department because it's the Terraform provider. As far as I know, is managed by a different team. But it's we will see. I will report back if I learn anything about this. Yeah, it will be interesting. So if anyone is watching the stream and has no context, tomorrow is my first day at Hetzner Cloud. So it's it's an interesting day for me tomorrow. All right, so we will solve this in a little bit different way here. And I will share a different window for this.
So there's a bug report open still.
Okay.
Which we found here. I will send it in the chat.
Right, now we can.
Okay, I missed that one because it's titled Random Failures on Destroy.
Isn't this obvious?
Resources.
All right, so what we want to look is the Terraform. It's provider. And so if you were wondering why I knew that the newest version is 1.26, it's at the top here, we can see the latest version. And then we can check what resources exist. And what we are using is the hcloud server resource, and we are defining the network down here right now. And then we add this dependency. Right, and here it explains why we need to add this, but there's no notion of it will not work during Terraform destroy. So anyway, we will just act like this network assignment in the server resource does not exist, like it was earlier, I think in 1.23 of the provider, something this was not there yet. And instead, we will use the hcloud server network resource, which is just an additional resource to where we add an hcloud server, we add an hcloud network and a subnet. We have all this already. And then we add a hcloud server network resource where we tell Terraform, yeah, please assign this server to this network. And if we want to, we can even assign an IP. And for some reason, this is handled better in the provider or by Terraform, I don't know. But if we do this, then the creation and the destruction will work without any issues. So let's do this. I will switch the windows again. Hopefully next time the window sharing and sound will be better again.
Yeah, no worries. We can think out loud or share other things. I will link the bug report, which was shared in the chat, in the blog post, which I'm writing in parallel, and yeah, then we should be good to go.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we are back in our Terraform code. My camera is disabled, right? Why is each time I disable and enable screen sharing, my camera gets disabled. So that's helpful. All right, so let's comment this out. We will delete it in a second, just so we remember it was there. And then we can. Let's just do it here below of our subnet. We create a resource, hcloud server network, and we call it. Well, what did we call our server? We just called it server. Okay, let's just call this server then as well. And we use account. I mean, it's not strictly necessary because we have only one server. But in case that at some point in the future we decide we need a highly available control plane for our cluster, then we could have 2 or 3 servers.
You have a typo. Length.
Yeah, thanks. hcloud server. and what was it called? Server. And then we use the count index to basically we loop across all our servers, and in this case it's just one, but for the agents we will see in a second that we have two, and then it makes a little bit more sense that we use this count. It's, yeah, if you come from a programming perspective but don't know Terraforms, it's a little bit like a for each loop. Oh no, it's more like a, yeah, just a for loop, and our counter is the upper limit of our counter is the length of hcloud server. And then we assign it to our network, and we want to assign it all to the same network. All right. And okay, I should change something in my Visual Code to how to fix this indentation. Otherwise, Philip will open a pull request again with Terraform format, and he is absolutely right about this. Okay, and then we will want to do the same for our agents as well. So we copy this, call this agent CX21, which is the flavor of our agents. Let's call it the same thing.
This is how I smuggled me in, and on every line now is my name.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
I should probably do a part on pre-commit so that we can annoy Max with having pre-commit format everything he does.
Yeah, that would be absolutely the right approach. Please do this.
Well, then I guess we got the next topic.
After Philip did this merge request to format all this in the right way, I actually configured my Visual Code to just do it on every save of Terraform code. But a few days ago, I changed a few things on my computer because I had a few days off, and now all my Terraform, all my Visual Code settings are gone, which was intentional, but I haven't like reconfigured everything yet. So that's why there's nothing fancier here anymore. All right, so
this is why we have the saying, never change a running system, Max.
Yes, you are right.
Next time we will just use Gitpod for that.
Oh, then I need to learn a new workflow.
No,
I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I know it's quite easy.
No, it looks the same. The only difference is that you're somewhere else where you commit and push.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kidding.
I have seen it in one of the earlier everyone can contribute sessions. It looked definitely very nice and like a handy tool. I agree, especially for pair programming stuff.
There is just advertisement. There will be a Gitpod community day by the end of April, I think on the 27th, and I'm probably speaking there. And it could be a good idea to have something around Terraform as well. So please continue, just taking notes and ideas.
Okay. So now hopefully this will work a little bit better. Let's do a Terraform plan. Or maybe let's make this Terraform plan. Or we can just do Terraform apply. I mean, in the end, it asks us if we want to apply. So we now have 11 resources instead of 8. That sounds good because we want to have this hcloud server network resource. And we have it once for our server, right? And 2 times for our agent. So this is the nice thing about this count parameter in Terraform, because we write this once and we get 2 resources out of it. And if we would create 200 agents, then we would get 200 of those resources. So that's nice. All right, then let's apply this. should be as fast as before, but hopefully the Terraform destroy will work now.
But the thing on the count is, I don't know if everybody knows Terraform. The thing is with count, it's little I think 0.12 syntax, right? Because with count, you will later have the issue if you want to replace something inside the count, then it's really hard. So that's why they introduced this for each now with 0.12 feature. Yeah, for example, when you want to replace the second node, the network agent CX000, then it's really hard with the count syntax. So you have to check
if
you want to use count or for each.
Yeah, it's a good idea then probably to use for each. I haven't used for each yet, but do you know out of the top of your head how you could change it here, or should we do it another time?
No, I think you have to change the whole syntax, so this would be a one section alone. So,
okay, all right. Okay, then let's maybe do
because then you basically have then one resource where you also look through. So, but it's a little bit change the whole file.
Okay. Yeah, but that sounds interesting.
We can keep it on our list somehow.
Yeah, on our ever-growing to-do list. All right, but that would be nice, yeah, to have a better way to replace resources in this list of objects.
This, for example, comes to mind when you want to change CX to another version of the server. Then you will have to delete everything, or I don't know, do it manually. And
I was also thinking we need a better way also if we. Yeah, it's very similar to when we want to replace some parts of it or want to delete some of it. We kind of need a way to also delete the nodes from Kubernetes then, because right now new nodes are always registered but never deleted. So it would be nice if we add some hook to Terraform to unregister those if we delete them with Terraform. Have to see if this works in some way, but it would be nice.
Nice idea.
Right, so let's try the deletion, and I really hope it works now, because then otherwise it was all for nothing. Yes, it worked. Nice. And so now we can more easily create and delete everything again and again. All right, that's nice. Let's create everything again.
And we have IPv6 for free. Yay.
Yes, that's also nice, yeah.
Yeah, I wondered where this high money amount comes from, what you told in the blog, but now I know it because you delete and apply every time you that's how you have the high bill.
No, it's not really from this. It's more like from before the H cloud existed, the Hetzner cloud, I used a Hetzner root server. And then that's always something between 30 and 50 euro per month. And then while I used two, while I was migrating from one to the next one, and that's just like, if you pay 50 euros each month over a few years, then it, I don't know, it accumulates to a lot of money, but on the other hand, it's so helpful to learn things.
Yes.
All right, but I think now we can use those instances for the rest of the evening. So yeah, now it's running.
And I get lots of notifications in my Hetzner Cloud account that resources are being created. And no, I don't care. I was just curious, checking on, since Philip mentioned the count is going up. Last week I checked, we were at like 19 euros for the month. So nothing to worry about.
It's amazing in the Hetzner console. If you watch closely, if you have it open in like one window and do your Terraform apply in the other window, take a look at how fast the notifications come. It's like half a second or something of delay. I was quite amazed when I saw that the last time I created some service, or even in the DNS console or something. That's really well done by them.
And I think the API and everything else is really stable, so you don't recognize any delays.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I've seen it with OpenStack in other setups where the API is totally overloaded with automation, and the user interface doesn't work because it also consumes the REST API. But
yeah, I've seen things like that. Yeah. And Hetzner is doing really well in regards to that too, definitely. I mean, I'm running my personal setup. It looks quite similar to what Max is showing here. I have no idea where that's coming from. I'm running that on Hetzner too, and I mean, it's not like the cheapest one. You could do it a bit cheaper somewhere else if you just like take some root VMs or something like that. But it's, I mean, the performance and the stability speaks for itself. I'm doing this for like half a year now, and I've never had any issue. Like not one single issue, and that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, so I need to like rebuild my blog, which is running in a Docker container in a virtual machine currently, but I've kind of started it last February, never touched it again except for updates sometimes. And for the Everyone Can Contribute group, we are at the hot number of 27.51 euros for 1 month, which is totally okay for playing around and learning Kubernetes and stuff. So, Max, back to you.
Right. Yeah, we now have we have nothing really new, but it's better now because it makes testing more comfortable if we delete stuff and it's really deleted and there's no this weird feeling of, oh, I have to retry the deletion and now it works. Maybe now it just works reliable. That's nice. So now we switch over to a completely different topic. It's completely unrelated to what we did until now, but it's still in Terraform. So I will just continue down here. So if you used a different cloud provider before, I don't know, AWS, Google Cloud, DigitalOcean, choose one, I don't care. And most of the time they have this feature called security groups or firewalling or whatever the name is. But it's basically always a firewalling as a service. So if you use a firewall in the cloud, you could have one on your node, right? Here, we could apply some firewall in this machine, on this server, on this Linux server, that we would do this with IP tables, for example, and we could configure to, I don't know, only allow SSH access, but nothing else to the VM or something. And that's like the more traditional way of firewalling a Linux server. And then in a traditional setup, you have some different firewall before your normal servers. This could be hardware or a different server or something that controls which traffic is allowed to your server. And yeah, the cloud providers offer the same thing. And then most of the time it's called something like security groups or firewall as a service, where you tell the cloud provider, please only allow TCP traffic on port 22 to my server and block everything else. And yeah, that's nice for us because it's an additional layer of security. Because now, even if we accidentally expose some port on our machine, it's still not exposed to the internet because this cloud provider firewall is before that and already drops all unwanted traffic. And yeah, that makes it a bit safer. It's definitely something for the peace of mind to just know there's this different firewall. You should still think about what you expose and what you run in your cluster, right? It's not like you're safe from everything now, because if you could still expose something and the firewall for this port is open and the traffic goes in there. But it's definitely one tool to improve the security of our cluster. And I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 weeks ago, I'm not really sure, Hetzner released their own firewall as a service feature for the Hetzner cloud, which I think was one of the most wanted features of the community. At least for me, it was like the most wanted feature, because especially with Kubernetes, it's sometimes easy it's easy to accidentally open a network port, or it's often desirable to allow all network traffic between your nodes, but not from the outside. And then it's very helpful if we have this additional layer to the outside. And yeah, so we are going to implement this now. We are going to add some Hetzner firewalls to our servers. And yeah, a few minutes ago, we updated our Terraform provider to the newest version. So we now have a version that also supports Hetzner firewalls. So we can start to hack right away here. And the new resource type is hcloud firewall. Let's call it, for example, base. So that's, as always, just a name we choose. And then we want to name it base. So it's a little bit duplicate, but this one is the resource name for Terraform. That's the name in the hcloud API. So it's a different thing. Then we define a firewall rule. We only use it for incoming traffic. It's also possible to create some rules for outgoing traffic, but if you, I wouldn't recommend outgoing firewalling as long as nobody forces you to do this, because from an operational perspective, this is hell. Even though there might be some security considerations there which make it necessary, but for example, for our Kubernetes cluster, our nodes need to be able to communicate to the outside, because if we want to run some Docker container, it's going to open a network connection to the outside and pull this Docker image and then run it, and for all this kind of stuff. So if you wanted a cluster where the nodes have no internet access, then we would need to proxy everything or provide all Docker images locally, and so on and so on. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. Not in my free time, at least. And then let's define a second rule. It's also direction in. And now we use a different protocol. The first rule is just to allow Icmp, so we can ping our server. That's not necessary to make it work, but it's good practice to allow Icmp traffic to your server. So if people are trying to debug why they can't reach you, they should be able to rely on Icmp. So we are not going to block this. Also, we are allowing TCP traffic on port 22, that's SSH, so we can connect to our servers via SSH. Let's just copy this for a second so I don't have to type it all. And yeah, those two we want to allow from everywhere. So that's why we define 0.0.0.0/0. I think that was a 0 too much, but 4 0/0, which is, notation for all IPv4 addresses. And then we have the same for IPv6. Okay. So let's do Terraform plan for a second. And then we can see it's going to create one firewall resource with our two rules in here. But it's not assigning it to any of the servers yet, right? We still need to do that. So let us go up to our server resource. Where do we put it? Maybe at the bottom. Oh, I did not remove this. I removed it from the agent, but not from the server, right? We can remove this here as well. Interesting that it still worked, but it's probably because it's the same content, so there was no conflict. Anyways, we can define some firewall IDs. And so we are going to reference our firewall, which we call base with the ID. Now we do Terraform apply. Right, so here it's the same here, our firewall with both rules. Then at the bottom, we can see here the yellow means that we are not going to delete it, but we will update it in place, which is nice because we can just keep our server running. And we're going to remove this network definition here. So hopefully this won't break anything, but I think it won't. All right, let's apply this. While it is running, I'm going to switch to the browser to show you a little bit how it looks. Then Zoom will kill my video again. All right, hcloud server network.
Oh, probably we lost now Max. He blocked himself with a Hetzner firewall.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he blocked Icmp and now the monitoring is red.
Yeah, I was thinking as he was just showing the network definition in the server block that maybe the server had two attachments to the internal network at that point in time. So one was defined by the explicit server network resource, and one was defined by the server block itself.
That doesn't explain why Max is now silent in Zoom.
He's not even present anymore, at least to me. No, now he's back.
Unless he was using a tunnel over Hetzner Cloud and this basically locked himself out of everything.
He ran an OpenVPN server in Kubernetes, literally, and then connected through the OpenVPN server that's running in the Hetzner Cloud, and now he attached the firewall. Yeah.
I'm pinging him on a side channel. Not that he didn't notice we can't hear him or see him.
Maybe he's still presenting.
I hope not.
Yeah. Maybe
okay. He just told me be right back, so he noticed.
Yeah, maybe I'll just like bridge the building or bridge the time of the comment I wrote in the chat around like, should I block Icmp? And I've seen that Windows, at least until what's the current Windows version 10, it blocks Icmp by default. And if you need to like monitor a Windows host or with an agent, you either have some automation in place, which enables Icmp in the firewall, or you do that manually, which is total fun for 10,000 agents. And I think I documented it somewhere, how to do it like with a PowerShell script. But there are also opinions that this is totally insecure and you shouldn't do that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of having Icmp available. Still, like checking if DNS is working and doing a ping instead is not the right tool. So probably this is why it's blocked.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff related to hosting for like eight years now professionally, and like 10 or 12 in total. And I've never seen any instance where blocking Icmp has helped anyone. And I've seen a lot of instances where blocking Icmp has led to hours and hours of debugging until somebody just found out, oh yes, it didn't work because we blocked Icmp. And that makes me kind of happy about the fact that IPv6 does not really work if you block Icmp. You need it for the path MTU discovery. So if you block Icmp, your IPv6 is broken, which is kind of bad for some admins because they then just disable IPv6. But on the other hand, I quite like it because I don't see any reason to block Icmp. I agree with you on that.
Yep, probably it's hard to change. So customers expect that it's blocked out in their setups. And if Microsoft would be going ahead and say, hey, we're enabling this now, not blocking it anymore, it probably has some unexpected, I don't know, behavior. Maybe there are some scripts relying on that being blocked, and otherwise they don't function anymore.
It's definitely a thing of don't break expectations of your users. I mean, that's a good thing about the growing IPv6 adoption. So we can just continue to do it in IPv4 until IPv4 is no more. So in like 120 years or something.
Like it's like IPv6 exists now for 20 years or longer. So
yes, but yeah, I mean, I can agree with some people who say, well, the draft has existed for. The draft is about as old as I am, so it's from 1996. It's a year younger than I am, so it has existed for 25 years now. But it's officially become a standard only as late as 2018. And that's just 3 years ago. So I can kind of understand that some people who heavily rely on stuff being a standard haven't implemented it.
Yeah. Mostly, there are a lot of more problems in terms of when you're looking in providers, also table ASPs, mostly they're doing not real dual stack, so you get only dual stack light, so you get, by the end you get an IPv6, but you're getting also an IPv4, but this is nutted on a Grand Carrier nut, so it's like really shitty when you want to do networking on your own. So mostly then you're forced to do IPv6 mostly. But then sometimes not all websites support IPv6. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, the German Telecom, Max is back. I was just thinking about the German Telecom, which I use at home. Sometimes DNS resolution with rubygems.org doesn't work. And this is like, then I like reboot the router or do something else. Sometimes it's IPv4 related, sometimes IPv6 related. I don't know. So it's still not as stable as I would want it. Still, if you don't do it now, and the Telecom does it since 2012 when I moved to Nuremberg, if you don't do it and use it in production, you will never learn it. So I personally appreciate that Hetzner Cloud provides IPv6 and you can just use it and break it, debug it, and go on.
Yeah, mostly also some shoutouts to the Telegram guys, because also they enable you IPv6 on the mobile. So you can get a real dual stack IP address on mobile also. I think they are the only carrier currently, mobile carrier, that allow that. So that you have an IPv6 on mobile network.
Yeah,
that's true. Good point. Max, we can move on from...
All right, yeah, sorry for the unexpected interruption. I don't really know what happened. I blame Zoom, but it's probably wrong.
We blame your firewall setting.
We thought that you had like a broken firewall setting and you were using VPN, OpenVPN in the Kubernetes cluster as a tunnel to be used, and now you were just cut off.
I don't know.
Let's keep the conspiracy and
okay.
Fixed it.
My home network is tunneled through the everyone can contribute cluster. All right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Everything was stuck and I needed to reboot, which is weird. Anyway, the last thing we did before this happened was we executed Terraform apply with our new firewall resource. And then I tried to switch over to the browser to show you in the web interface, and that's where it stopped working. So now you can see the Hetzner Cloud interface again. We have our 3 servers from our cluster. And here in the menu, we have networks. No, we have firewalls. And we want to click there. And then we see this new base firewall created 10 minutes ago before my computer crashed. Then let's click on this. And here we can see from all IPv4 and 6 IPs, we allow Icmp traffic and TCP traffic on port 22. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do. And it's just working. And we can check to which servers it is applied, to which resources. And it's applied to server 0. So yeah, that's nice. We will want to apply it to the others as well. We'll do this in a second. If we wouldn't have our beautiful Terraform code, then we could click here and just add other servers to it. So by default, all traffic to each server is allowed. But as soon as we apply a single firewall rule, all traffic will be blocked except the traffic we allow in our firewall rule. So if we click here, then it will block all traffic to the Docker host except ICMP and SSH. Let's not do this. All right.
It's a good use case how you can destroy your Terraform state.
If we, you mean if we do it here? Yeah, point.
Yeah, but what? Why you would destroy a Terraform state if you Terraform would overwrite it?
If you would edit now manually?
Yeah, Terraform would overwrite.
Just overwrite it.
Yeah. It doesn't break the change. It would only break the change if you delete the resource without Terraform. But then you can taint the Terraform resource, so the Terraform knows, okay, it's going to be deleted, then it's fine. Or you can directly remove it from the Terraform state with Terraform state, remove, and the object.
Here we can state list. I learned this recently. Oh, why is stuff not working now? I need to go into the Terraform directory, and then I can state list. And what Niklas means is we can remove a single resource here if we are sure it doesn't exist anymore.
But when you can remove it, it wouldn't remove it on Hetzner Cloud right now then.
Yeah, only if we already deleted it, then it would be okay.
Yeah, so you can taint the resource and then Terraform would know that it...
It's directly like Terraform taint as a command, or?
Yeah, Terraform taint means that it allows you to deprecate your resource, really.
Is this like a taint in Kubernetes around?
Let me check. A taint is only that I don't allow state error, right, on a node?
Yeah.
Mostly a taint. I would say a Terraform taint is more like a Kubernetes drain. So that it knows that in the next apply, okay, it will be replaced, and that means that the object will be destroyed totally.
Okay.
That's what the Terraform taint is doing.
So basically, you're marking it as unusable, and the next run just drops it.
Yeah.
And then recreates it, I guess.
Yeah, it will do a recreation, yeah, because the resource still exists in your Terraform files, and yeah, that's the reason why it would recreate it. Yeah, that's true. I've heard it.
Nice. I learned something.
So
we
another
all learned
question.
something now.
Yeah, definitely. So can I prevent a specific resource from being created or recreated, like blacklisting it?
Yeah, you can do some stuff about that. What you can do is Terraform has a life cycle. So each resource has its own life cycle. So you can do life cycle resource changes. So the typical way of Terraform, what it currently is doing, is that by default, Terraform deletes the resource first and then recreates it. But you can also do the opposite. So that Terraform will create first the new resource and afterwards it will gonna delete the resource. That could be probably the state when you want to create a new database or something like that. That you don't drop directly your old database, then creating the new one and figure out, okay, it doesn't work. So first creating the new instance of the database and afterwards it will use it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thanks. probably when Max is, I can look for the lifecycle stuff, because also what's important, you can also ignore changes on a Terraform object. So, or on a Terraform resource. All right, I can. I will share the link probably in 2 seconds. Here we go.
All right.
You don't, or should I open it and share my screen?
Sorry, I wasn't aware that I should
Yeah.
open it. I wasn't sure if you.
Yeah, because you
I
were
can open
sharing
it.
this window.
Yeah, no.
So
I will continue sharing. Oh no, I need to change the window anyway then. But
okay.
I will continue sharing then.
Okay, sorry.
Maybe I break everything again. We'll see. All right, here's the browser.
Okay.
We are here to break everything. So
okay. Yeah, so you have, these are the meta arguments. So in every resource, you can define a lifecycle configuration. And you have different types of lifecycle elements. So first of all, it's the obvious that I explained before, the create before destroy. So that you are creating a resource before it will be destroyed. You can also set the prevent destroy, so that Terraform would reject automatically when you try to restore, to destroy this restore, and says no, it's not working. And another important option is also ignore changes. So this attribute allows you to don't recreate a resource or don't update a resource. For example, when you changing only the tags or something like that, or you don't want to see that. Or sometimes I use this also when I need to have a workaround on broken providers or Terraform providers, because sometimes you're coming in the state that the Terraform says, hey, I want to update the resource because I have a different state on the API instead of my current state, but the provider doesn't support that right now. So for example, it means like, hey, we have a new field, for example, that the server instance has a logging option so that I can directly enable logging on the server, but on the API level. But Terraform doesn't support that right now. But Terraform would show you every time the change that's currently happening, hey, you need to add these log enabled field to the to your state. But because the provider doesn't support that, you can say ignore these changes and it won't ask you anymore for that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice, because for example, for the server instances on Hetzner, when we change the SSH keys for the server, then the server will be recreated to assign the new keys or to remove others. And for our setup, for example, it would be nice if we can change it in Terraform, but the keys are also updated by Ansible anyway. So for existing instances, we could leave it managed by Ansible, but for future instances, it would be managed by Terraform then.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Yeah, it's nice. Terraform has many options I have never heard of, and this is definitely a useful.
It has also a new release. It will come now. I think the 0.15.
Okay. Yeah, earlier Philip also mentioned that we should change the count loop we used with a for each loop, which works in newer versions.
It depends, I would say.
I said not we should. I mean, I said
We
the
could,
for each
yeah.
has some benefits. Our count.
Yeah, you can do key value.
But it depends on your. If you want to just create a cluster and never change it, then count is okay, I guess.
But it would be definitely interesting to look into it a bit.
Yeah, mostly count can be used for using feature flags also. So that you enable when you do, for example, that you do in condition and say, okay, when agent CX is enabled, you can put a 0 or a 2, for example, so that you have a feature flag on the resource, so that you don't need to create don't need to remove a resource from your state, that you can say, okay, I want this feature, this resource enabled or not. So that helps you later in infrastructure as code managing in the life cycle that you don't need to remove resources. You set up only values to update your stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
The count or the for each? You mean the for each, or?
No, in the count.
Okay.
Probably it's hard to explain a little bit.
Probably we should do a hacking session on Terraform. DSL. No, it's not DSL. It's HCL is the name.
But maybe let's try to wrap up the firewall stuff. So
Yeah.
if we do another 5 minutes, then we can finish this topic, and then we don't need to like pick the same up next week. And then we can do something else next week. We created the space firewall rule, and now we need to allow traffic to our K3S or to our Kubernetes API. Let's copy it down here. Let's call it, I don't know, K3S server. And then we don't need to allow Icmp here because that's already included in the base firewall, but we want to allow traffic to port 6443, which is the API port of K3S. And then we go up again to the list of firewalls we have here. And we add this one, K3S server. Let's copy this down here to our agents, but there we don't need to expose this port. We only need to expose SSH and ICMP. All right, I think that's it about firewalling. Let's do Terraform apply again. You can see here, we'll create this new firewall rule. Then it will update all our servers in both agents to add this firewall ID. Now I'm super confused.
Why is
I
it
think
removing?
You mean why it removes this one? And
Yes.
yeah, I think I talked to them about it. It's because of the implementation of in the Terraform provider. He mentioned something like this is the list of firewall rules is a set in Terraform, and there is no way for the provider to expose a more beautiful div in this case. It's always like replacing the full content if you change something. So it can't make a difference if you change one rule or all rules.
Now we can adopt the lifecycle ignore changes on the firewall IDs.
On the specific ones when we already know they exist, you mean?
Yeah.
Because yeah, that we could do. Yeah, but let's not do this for now.
Yeah.
Because it won't really remove it, I think. But and then this change, I think, is because earlier we removed this inline network assignment, which we forgot earlier to remove. So that's why this change comes now.
Can I ask one question before you apply? Or was it type yes?
Yeah, of course.
Last time you said the WireGuard VPN encryption is between the external IP addresses. If you apply now these rules, will the Rancher cluster or the K3S cluster break?
I expected it to break in this case, yes. But interestingly, at least in my private cluster, it did not break.
Okay, let's see.
So I'm not really sure what this implies routing-wise, because the firewalls allow all traffic about the internal network, and so my interpretation was that in some way this traffic, even though it's sent over the public IPs, appear to be still routed internally enough to not reach the firewall. I'm not really sure about this. So
sounds okay.
Yeah, it's. I wanted to dig into this a bit more because it's, for me, it's important to know which traffic is allowed and which is not. And like, will it be blocked if we remove the private network, or will it still work? Because if it's only works as long as the private network is there, I'm fine with it. But if it still works after we remove the internal network, that would be bad. So yeah, that's definitely something we could look into, or maybe we should. I'm not sure if we should do it live or separately and then talk about it. But yes, when I found out that the traffic is still routed via the external IPs, I was very surprised that the firewalls did not break it.
Okay, thanks.
And yeah, one thing we can do next time is to change the traffic anyway to work over the internal IP addresses. It's in the end, it's one configuration parameter for Flannel for the Kubernetes backend. All right, so
I think we finally have to do some GitLab pipeline stuff for Michi.
Yeah, we can do this first as well.
You can read my mind. I was thinking of automating that and writing a CI/CD configuration and saying, please run this repository, deploy everything automatically.
Yeah, we can do that. Then let's do that next time and move the networking stuff to the week afterwards or something like this.
Yeah, maybe combine it. I'm not sure if we would like take 1 hour for writing a bit of YAML for the deployment. So I think, probably takes that long because we make mistakes or try things out. But I think we have reached a level where we can combine the Lego building blocks and just build on top of that. So now we automated it, made it idempotent, I think, idempotent. So basically we get the same state every time we run it. And if we destroy it, we can still recreate it, the resources again. I think a good way of battle testing would be to say, well, I'm on vacation next week. I'm gonna try it myself with a fresh Hetzner account or my private Hetzner account and see how things are going. And maybe we need to like fix something or generalize something so that everyone can just say, hey, click and provision a Kubernetes cluster in Hetzner Cloud within, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yep.
And later on, and this is something I cannot wait to try out, is the Prometheus operator and like put everything on top. But I can't wait. We still have, we have this year probably, but we can just play around. The only exception, lockdown in Germany, not knowing what to do. No, in 2 weeks' time, Sebastian from Obstrace will join us and do a demo about Obstrace. I think it touches base with Kubernetes and cloud native and everything around it. So I think it's a good topic change, like having someone external presenting something else. But we can like hop back in the week after and say, hey, Obstrace and Kubernetes, how does this work? Or doing something different. I'm trying to organize maybe someone from Snook, where I'm in touch. And I think, I don't know, I have some other contacts in the pipeline. Or maybe Anais wants to do something, or we do a coding session, or we learn something new. I'm totally open for everything. Anything else?
No, I think we can just see that it worked. We have now the additional firewall, which is only applied to one server, which is nice. And the other one is now applied to all three of them.
I know why it doesn't break, probably.
All right, yeah,
But
tell us.
we did not see that it not break. So he did not did a get notes. Kube control.
Yeah,
but
there is no Kubernetes running yet in this setup.
Okay.
Yeah, but could it be the case, because you said that it's running on your system, that they are all using the API server port, so the 6443? And also the WireGuard tunnel uses. No, wait. Probably the difference WireGuard uses UDP, not TCP. And your firewall rules using only TCP ruling.
You mean they don't block UDP traffic until I create a UDP rule?
Yeah.
That is very much possible. Yeah, I will try to test this until next week.
But
that would be super interesting.
But because WireGuard is operating on UDP.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, and it would make me happy because it would mean that there is no random way the traffic goes through, and it's like a very precise explanation why this happens.
But shouldn't it be you create a rule to disallow everything else?
No, the way the Hetzner firewall works is everything is allowed until you start one rule allowing something, and then everything else is blocked.
Yeah, but currently it blocks
one rule to rule them all. Okay.
But maybe I could imagine that Niklas is right, that I created only a TCP rule, and now only all other TCP traffic is blocked.
Can you check if you can also create a UDP rule?
Yeah, let's try this.
Because
yes, I can.
And by default, all outbound traffic is allowed. Because probably I think it works because the connection was established before. So I think you can't open new connections to the ports, also not to UDP, because it would be blocked, but the firewall doesn't keep established connections.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about. You are right, yes, but in my private setup, I rebooted machines.
Okay.
After I created a firewall, and the WireGuard continued to work. That's interesting. Let's maybe look into this until next week, or so outside of the live stream, we can test a little bit around and then reveal our findings in another call.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, yeah.
But it
depending
could,
on.
Yeah, but maybe Niklas is right, because they're using the outbound. Outbound is allowed, and you allowed inbound on 6443.
No, it's because it doesn't block UDP, because we doesn't have a UDP role, I would say, mostly.
Yeah, but if you don't allow UDP, it should be blocked or not?
No, it's we are not sure about this.
Okay, we need to test it.
It could be that it uses the default case. There is no UDP rule, so I allow everything until you create one. Or it could be that the existing TCP rule should block all UDP traffic, but it doesn't. So we need to find out which is the case. But it's.
I think TCP doesn't block UDP. At least if I think of IP tables and Firewall D.
No, yeah, definitely. If you do it in IP tables, it doesn't block UDP. It depends on how Hetzner implements the firewall on their end.
But for example, it should. I mean, if you have to, then it's really user unfriendly, I would say, for now. No, sorry, Marx, to say. But when I create a rule, when I'm not so not so deep in IT like Niklas, for example, and I create a rule to only allow TCP port 22, then everything else should be blocked normally, because I allow TCP 22.
Not necessarily.
No, because TCP and UDP are different protocols. I would say.
Yes, I mean, but there should be in the background some rule which blocks everything else because I allow TCP port 22. This I mean. I don't want to add this.
That.
I would expect
So
it.
I'm used to reading Linux firewalls and IP tables, and I know that I need to reject everything, and then I'll do remove everything, and then allow what I want specifically.
No, but as basically on Cisco, for example, you have some ACLs, and at the end, so it's like batch processed, for example, and at the end you always have a deny all, and before you allow what you want. So you allow TCP 22, for example, in Cisco, and then everything else is blocked. This is
but
the
the
understanding
deny
for me for firewall.
The deny is visible in there, so you need to add it. And if you remove the deny, it doesn't make sense, but still it's a valid firewall rule. If you're just defining allow port 22, I wouldn't expect that everything else is blocked away. I definitely need to see that everything is blocked away with deny all or reject all. I'm not sure how the firewall is implemented at Hetzner Cloud, but this is the homework for Max. We will know by tomorrow.
Yeah, for example,
I will need to find out how much I'm allowed to tell then, but we will see.
Yeah, but in the implementation, what you posted, it says it does an implicit denied at the end. So
for me, the documentation I posted sounds a lot like the UDP traffic should be dropped since we created the TCP rule, right?
Yeah.
But so it would, if it doesn't work like this, then I could definitely work towards updating this documentation.
Is the documentation open source? Can we contribute to that?
I'm not sure if it is.
Maybe we could make.
So you check the documentation, Niklas?
Yeah, I checked the link that Max posted.
Oh, okay.
It's like currently it really depends on their implementation. Probably find a bug. That could be also the case.
Yeah, I think it's in beta right now, at least if I interpret the tweet correctly. So
yes, it
could still be something. It doesn't look like beta to me, but it could be like a bit which is wrong or off by one error or something else. So
can you set a star at the UDP, or do you have to specify a port?
TCP support like under 100.
I could select any here.
Yeah, but you cannot do. Oh, you could remove the IPs at the end here. This you can remove, and then TCP UDP any would be. I don't know. So you can only allow it basically. Yeah, but then I think I'm right. If you can allow it, everything else should be disallowed.
Yeah, let's look into this a little bit outside of the call. I think this we need a bit more time.
Yeah,
for
mostly
this.
You need also to find another port range than the WireGuard range, because WireGuard opens port randomly in a port range.
Yeah. But in the end, to debug it, we could use netcat or anything to just check if traffic works. But that's something I would do like without a live stream to try it out.
Probably, and you could also reduce the amount of involved components and say, hey, this is my virtual machine, nothing on it, and then debug the firewall.
Yes, definitely. I mean, of course, I have to say, no, we can just work on top of Kubernetes. Nothing else is allowed, but
you can try.
No.
Then you do the session, and we are.
Oh no. Yeah. Let's do 4 sessions of network debugging with Kubernetes to completely go nuts. All right, I think that's it for today. So we have now firewalls in front of our servers. We will find out what's going on with the UDP traffic and then go back to this in the future. Then next week we can do the GitLab pipeline. We can build this on top of what I have prepared in my private cluster. So we should be good to go to start on top of this, if you are fine with it. And then I think the week afterwards, we have the guest from Ops Trace, which Micah mentioned, right?
Yep.
All right, and then afterwards, then let's see what we do afterwards, right?
Yeah, maybe adding monitoring, maybe breaking things. As said, it's a good way of learning, and I really appreciate that you prepared for today, and we can continue learning Kubernetes and automation. And at some point, maybe Philip wants to jump in and do the Kube1 thing, or like the automation, which doesn't involve Terraform and Ansible. So everyone can contribute. That's the thing. Yeah, and with that, I would say let's leave it with that. We will publish the blog post later on, covering all the URLs and the things we discussed. It's nearly ready. And I would say bye-bye on YouTube. Thanks, Max, for presenting.
Yes, of course, you're welcome.